The moving truck rumbled away, leaving me alone with boxes piled high. The sound of the engine faded into the distance, and I was left standing in the middle of my new empty apartment, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and dust, a testament to the building's age and history. It was October 28th, just days before Halloween, and I had scored an amazing deal on a vintage apartment on Harbinger Lane. The street was lined with trees shedding their autumn leaves, and the houses were adorned with festive Halloween decorations. It felt like I had stepped into a scene from a classic horror movie, the kind where the setting itself is a character. The place had character-high ceilings, creaky floors, and an antique mirror that stretched nearly floor to ceiling in the living room. The mirror was the centerpiece of the apartment, its ornate frame hinting at a bygone era. I imagined the stories it could tell, the reflections it had captured over the decades. The landlord said the previous tenants left it behind. He handed me the keys with a knowing smile, as if he was aware of something I wasn't. "Take good care of it," he said, his voice tinged with an odd seriousness. I brushed it off, attributing it to his attachment to the old building. I remember thinking it was a beautiful piece, its ornate frame hinting at a rich history. The craftsmanship was exquisite, the kind you don't see in modern furniture. I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in owning such a unique item. Little did I know this mirror would soon become a window into a terrifying nightmare. As the sun set and the apartment grew darker, the mirror seemed to take on a life of its own. Its surface, once just a reflective glass, now appeared to be a portal to another world, a world filled with shadows and whispers. That night, unpacking was the last thing on my mind. I was exhausted from the move, and the eerie atmosphere of the apartment was starting to get to me. I decided to leave the boxes for the next day and try to get some rest. The silence of the apartment was broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards, each sound sending shivers down my spine. Every creak seemed louder in the stillness of the night, echoing through the empty rooms like a ghostly presence. I stood before the mirror, its age-worn glass reflecting back a distorted image of myself. In the dimly lit room, the reflections seemed almost otherworldly, as if the mirror was showing me a version of reality that was slightly off-kilter. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me from the other side. A cold draft seemed to emanate from its surface, sending a chill through the room. The temperature dropped noticeably, and I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to ward off the sudden cold. It felt unnatural, as if the mirror was drawing the warmth out of the air. It was probably just the old windows, I told myself, trying to rationalize the unsettling feeling that had washed over me, but deep down I knew there was something more to it. The mirror held secrets, and I was about to uncover them, whether I wanted to or not. The night stretched on, and I found myself unable to look away from the mirror, its dark surface pulling me in like a moth to a flame. Sleep eluded me that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt an inexplicable pull towards the mirror. It was as if it was calling out to me, whispering secrets that I couldn't quite hear. I tossed and turned, my mind racing with thoughts of what could be lurking within its depths. The ticking of the clock seemed to grow louder with each passing minute, a constant reminder of the time slipping away. I stared at the ceiling, my mind filled with questions and fears. What was it about this mirror that unsettled me so much? Why did it feel like it was watching me? Unable to take it any longer, I got out of bed and walked towards the mirror. The room was dark, the only light coming from the street lamp outside. As I approached the mirror, I felt a sense of dread wash over me. My reflection stared back at me, but there was something off about it, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. I leaned in closer, my breath fogging up the glass. My reflection seemed to waver, as if it was struggling to maintain its form. I could see my own eyes staring back at me, but they looked different, almost hollow. It was as if the mirror was showing me a version of myself that I didn't recognize. I reached out to touch the mirror, my fingers meeting the cold glass. The surface felt icy, sending a shiver down my spine. I half expected my hand to pass through, to be pulled into whatever world lay beyond, but remained solid. A barrier between me and the unknown. I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest. The mirror seemed to pulse with a dark energy, its surface rippling like water. I could feel its presence, a malevolent force that seemed to be watching my every move. I knew I had to get out of there, to put some distance between myself and the mirror. I left the room, closing the door behind me. The sense of relief was immediate, but it was short-lived. I could still feel the mirror's presence, its dark energy seeping through the walls. I knew that this was just the beginning, that the mirror had more in store for me. I sat on the couch, my mind racing. What was I going to do? How was I going to deal with this? The mirror was more than just a piece of furniture. It was a gateway to something dark and sinister. I had to find a way to protect myself, to keep whatever was inside the mirror from getting out. I spent the next few hours researching, trying to find any information I could about the mirror. There were stories, legends of haunted mirrors that trapped spirits and reflected dark energies, but none of them seemed to match what I was experiencing. I was on my own, facing an unknown threat with no idea how to combat it. I knew I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I had to take action to find a way to protect myself and my new home. I made a plan, determined to uncover the secrets of the mirror and put an end to its dark influence. The night was far from over, and I was ready to face whatever came next. I gathered supplies, anything I thought might help: salt, candles, a mirror cover, anything that might ward off the dark energy. I was ready to confront the mirror, to face whatever was lurking within its depths. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I had to try. I stood in front of the mirror holding a candle. The flame flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. The mirror's surface seemed to ripple as if it was aware of my presence. I could feel its dark energy, a malevolent force that seemed to be waiting for me. I began to pray, reciting words from the Bible. The air grew thick with tension, the candle's flame flickering wildly. The mirror's surface seemed to pulse with dark energy, its reflection warping and twisting. I could feel the presence within the mirror, a dark force that was fighting against my efforts. I sprinkled holy water around the mirror, creating a protective barrier. The air crackled with energy, the mirror's surface rippling like water. I could feel the dark presence within the mirror, a malevolent force that seemed to be pushing against the barrier. I continued to chant, my voice growing stronger with each word. With a final prayer, I covered the mirror with a cloth, sealing it away. The air grew still, the dark energy dissipating. I could feel the presence within the mirror, but it was weaker, contained. I knew that this was just a temporary solution, that the mirror's dark influence was still there, lurking beneath the surface. I sat on the couch, exhausted but relieved. The mirror was contained for now, but I knew that this was just the beginning, that the mirror's dark influence would continue to haunt me. I had to find a permanent solution, to uncover the secrets of the mirror and put an end to its dark power once and for all. I was ready to face whatever came next. The mirror had shown me a glimpse of its dark power, but I was determined to uncover its secrets and put an end to its influence. The night was far from over, and I knew that the mirror's dark presence would continue to haunt me, but I was ready to face the challenges ahead and uncover the truth behind the haunted mirror on Harbinger Lane. I tried to convince myself that my exhaustion was playing tricks on my mind. The long hours at work, the sleepless nights, they were all taking a toll on me. I'd been feeling drained, both physically and mentally, and it was easy to blame my frayed nerves for the strange occurrences. The whispers, the shadows, it was all in my head, right? I had always been a rational person, someone who believed in logic and reason, but lately the lines between reality and imagination had started to blur. The whispers seemed to follow me, echoing in the corners of my mind, and the shadows danced just out of sight, taunting me. But deep down, a primal fear was beginning to blossom in my chest. It was an ancient, instinctual fear, the kind that grips you in the dead of night and refuses to let go. I could feel it growing stronger with each passing day, feeding off my uncertainty and doubt. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, that the antique mirror was somehow at the heart of it all. It had been a gift from a distant relative, a beautiful yet eerie piece that seemed to hold a life of its own. Every time I looked at it, I felt a strange connection, as if it were watching me, waiting for the right moment to reveal its secrets. One evening, I returned home from work to find the apartment unusually cold, the air thick with a strange energy I couldn't quite place. It was as if the very atmosphere had changed, becoming heavy and oppressive. The chill seeped into my bones, making me shiver despite the layers of clothing I wore. As I stepped into the living room, my gaze was immediately drawn to the mirror. It stood there, dominating the room with its presence, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly light. I felt an inexplicable urge to approach it, to uncover the mystery that lay within its depths. It seemed different somehow, as if it were pulsating with an unseen energy. The glow was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there, a faint shimmer that hinted at something beyond the ordinary. I reached out, my fingers trembling as they brushed against the cold glass. And then I saw it. The reflection of the room behind me was wrong. It was a subtle difference, but unmistakable. The angles were off, the colors slightly muted, and there was a sense of distortion that made my head spin. It was as if I were looking into a parallel world, one that mirrored my own but with a sinister twist. The furniture was rearranged, the curtains drawn. It was a scene that was both familiar and alien, a twisted version of my own reality. I felt a surge of panic, my heart racing as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. It was subtle, but definitely not a reflection of the room as I had left it. The differences were small, almost insignificant, but they were there, a testament to the fact that something was terribly wrong. I felt a growing sense of dread, a realization that I was no longer in control of my own reality. My breath caught in my throat, and a cold wave of fear washed over me. I could feel my pulse quicken, my body reacting to the primal fear that had taken hold. I wanted to look away, to escape the mirror's gaze, but I was rooted to the spot, unable to tear my eyes from the unsettling reflection. This was no trick of the light. This was something far more sinister. The mirror held a power that I couldn't comprehend, a dark force that seemed to reach out and ensnare me. I knew then that I had to uncover the truth, to face whatever lay within the mirror's depths, no matter the cost. Then came the night that changed everything. I was reading in bed, desperately trying to distract myself, when I heard a deafening crash from the living room. I froze, my blood turning to ice. Cautiously, I made my way to the doorway, my hand trembling as I reached for the light switch. The room was plunged into darkness, and then I saw it. The mirror, once a fixture on the wall, had moved. It was now standing in the middle of the room, its surface rippling like water. And in its depths I saw him, a towering figure shrouded in shadow with eyes that burned like hot coals. Terror, raw and primal, surged through me. I stumbled back, tripping over my own feet as I scrambled to get away. But the figure was already emerging from the mirror, its form solidifying as it crossed the threshold into my world. The dark shadow slithered closer. Its form, shaped like a human, was twisting and bending in ways that shouldn't be possible. I was terrified, but I grabbed my cross necklace, desperate. I didn't know what else to do. With all the strength I had, I closed my eyes and plunged the cross into the creature's chest. It let out this horrible screech, and everything around us seemed to warp and twist. The air felt like it was being sucked out of the room, and the creature thrashed, flickering between shadow and solid. I passed out. I opened my eyes. I was back in my bed. The room was silent. The mirror was gone. The heavy, oppressive feeling in the air had vanished. Was this a dream? It can't be. I spoke to the landlord about the mirror. Where did it go? I didn't wait around for these answers. I grabbed what I could and left the apartment for good.